From the center of the galaxy, this is ForceCenter, show about Star Wars pop culture and the ultimate adventure, life itself, and sometimes Star Wars with that life itself. I'm Ken Napzok.
And I'm Jen Landa.
And we are here to discuss Star Wars news and to hop in the Star Wars travel way back time machine, a dial of destiny, if you will, and look back on 10 years of the Force Awakens teaser trailer, the trailer itself, and the hype around Force Awakens. Before we get to all that, as always, we want to remind you that today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/ForceCenter. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. We are recommending one of my favorites, Aftermath by Chuck Wendig, part of the Aftermath series. It was a little bit of a curveball at the time. We didn't know what we were getting. A lot of the main characters not in it, but introduced a lot of other characters that at first I was like, I don't know about this, but now Mr. Bones is one of my favorite characters. Check out Aftermath by Chuck Wendig today by downloading your free audiobook today by going to audibletrial.com/ForceCenter. Again, that's audibletrial.com/ForceCenter for your free audiobook. We're looking back, Jen. That's why I was like, remember Aftermath? Remember that 10 years ago?
I can't believe that was 10 years ago too?
Yeah. Yeah.
What? Gosh.
Don't worry about time. Time's here to rob us all.
Seriously.
But that is our Audible A, which means we have a little swing through the asks, though, Jen, it's still confirmation while also asking.
That's right. We have a new goal of 420 patrons on Patreon. Our previous goal of 415 is locked in. We met it. We're saying, even if we dip a little bit. It's all right. It's all right.
It's locked.
It's locked. It's locked. We will update you on the patron-only private live stream. I don't know why I just winked. I kind of gave a little wink. When Joseph comes back, it's not that kind of private live stream. Okay, everyone? Keep it clean. But we're going to have a blast. Wait a minute. Hold on. You made a face.
I was like, well, we don't know. You know, Joseph could come back changed from Minnesota.
I know. Now he's a big time director.
Yeah, you know, might be a little. Who knows?
Well, we'll have some fun regardless. Yeah. Thank you to all of you who have joined us on Patreon for supporting our show. We really, really appreciate it.
You know, it's funny. We've been joking about the use of the word private to describe the live stream we're going to do. And, you know, exclusive is the more brand appropriate version. We've been joking. But another channel that I work for, I write for the channel, the White Files, they call them private live screens. I keep saying live screens, like we're having a private medical live screen. A private live stream for their Patreon and Discord. So we're not alone.
Okay, good. Because I don't know how it started, but we've been rolling with it. And
I think I said it just because I thought, you know, I didn't even think I just said it. And then it's just, I think one day we all kind of realized what we were saying in this modern age. Private live stream. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
There you go. But make that happen if you want. That's already happened. But help us grow on Patreon, as Jen said there. Also, you can follow us on Blue Sky and Threads. We'll tell you at the end of the show. We're having a lot of fun on Blue Sky. Though this past week I've been I got a little more busy, and so social media did drop down my important and to-do list there. But follow us on Blue Sky and YouTube as well. If you're watching here on YouTube, subscribe, hit that notification bell, like the video, all those things. Subscribe so you don't miss the pop-up vertical live streams. I did one this morning before we recorded, which by the time this news episode comes out will be Monday morning. Kind of previewed the week, took questions, told you all where to find information on how to support Joseph's film, Dead Media, as he makes it. You can go to josephscrimshaw.com for that. But you're not going to want to miss those. They pop up whenever I'm ready. Though I think I'm going to try. My goal is to have that Monday morning BTS, here's what's happening in the week of ForceCenter episode. So subscribe there.
I love that.
There you go.
That's great.
Life adventures, Jen. I do actually have some Star Wars life adventures. Two things happened. Okay. I started my Andor rewatch. And look, I even said it on that live stream this morning, and I'll say it here again. Like I've always loved that show. Loved it from the moment it came out. Love it now. I sometimes forget that because I just feel I personally, not speaking for you, not speaking for Joseph, but I personally have had more arguments with my real life Star Wars friends over them using their love of Andor to take just an absolute billy club to the rest of Star Wars. and that's their right and clearly their want, but I've just found myself defensive, which makes it seem even to myself that I don't like Andor as much as I do. I love the show. I love the show. And Jen, the rewatch, I'm 5 episodes in, so I'm right in the middle / end of that Aldani arc. And yeah, I can't wait for season 2. I love season 1. I love the performances. I love the crisp writing. Even the Aldani arc has 2 of my least favorite episodes in terms of Andor, but that's who cares about a ranking of favorite episodes. I just love what's there. Love the designs. I love the Imperial officers walking around in their very real trench coats.
Yeah.
There's always a debate around this bricks and the screws in Andor. I love the very real Imperial trench coats because that's not unlike Krennic in Rogue One. The opening scene of Rogue One, I remember in theater at the press screening I was at, Mendelssohn's on screen as Krennic, and I'm like, I can see his threads. Like I can see, oh my God, this is like real Star Wars in a way, which is a weird statement even to make because I love the wild look of the prequels, and I love the original trilogy, rusty kind of lived in look. Anyways, I've been having a lot of fun, Jen, and it's been. I want to give Skeleton Crew its due. We're here to preview Skeleton Crew this week, but it's been fun, just chewing up the scenery with the rest of the Andor cast.
I love that show. I forget what I was doing where I went back and kind of looked at a little bit of it, and I'm like, oh, I can't wait for the show to go back. Well, I think that somebody said that it was not a political show or something, and I laughed. I was gonna comment, and then I lost track of time. But yeah, I mean that show is top tier. And then seeing that Krennic is going to be in season 2, right. I'm like, oh, this is going to be phenomenal. I cannot wait.
I mean, look, the performances, I was just, man, I was eating up every second of Mon Mothma at home with Lita and Perrin. I forgot how much I love to hate Perrin. How much he's just like, oh, these political people, they're all so boring. All your causes are so boring. And that argument at the breakfast table with Mon and her daughter, and Perrin just kind of sipping his calf or whatever the hell he's drinking, just kind of smugly looking at his daughter arguing with his wife. And I loved everything about that. And then, the longer conversation to have, maybe even not here at ForceCenter, I don't know. There needs to be a documentary about media literacy and the problems with it. But the fact that the first 3 episodes of Andor are essentially just a billboard that says ACAB. And if you know what that means, you know what that means. And to have some people be like, no, this is just great Star Wars. It's not political. I can't comprehend it. I can't comprehend it. So we are, but that's my story. Oh, are you there?
I'm here. I know. It blacked out. It blacked out.
You blacked out. We're having one of those broadcast days where by the time you see this, the individual audio feeds and video feeds are fine. But our way of communicating with each other is, it's a little cloudy in LA today, so therefore no internet is working.
Oh my gosh. I'll have to reset it. Not now, but something's going on.
But anyways, that's been part of that. Oh, also, as we discussed the Force Awakens trailer today, in preparation for that, I went back. I said, I'll watch the Force Awakens teaser trailer. And I talked about it on the Bombad cast this past week. I jumped on real quick on the live stream. Scotty and Jerry, who were on the Jar Jar episode this week, thanks to all that's commented and liked that Jar Jar episode. I had a lot of fun celebrating, but I watched watched all the trailers. I got into it, and I watched all the Star Wars trailers. It was getting emotionally just moved and pulled in, and almost as if the movies were still coming out, and I didn't know what happened in them. It was great.
I know. I can't wait to dive into the Force Awakens one. Oh gosh, it was a good life adventure week for you.
For me, yes.
Yeah, I didn't have really much. I mean, the only thing that was cracking me up was my husband. I forget how this came about. Oh, he was going on some rant about fingernails and how fingernails have evolved. I don't know. He's really into biology and science. I'm like, and I was kind of tuning him out. And then he's like, does Jabba the Hutt have nails? And I'm like, what?
Oh my gosh.
And that was a moment where people often look to us, right, as experts in our families and sometimes friends.
In our friend group, yep.
Right. And they're like, well, don't you know? And I'm like, I don't know. I've looked at Wookiee fingers. I've looked at Jawa fingers, but I've not really analyzed Jabba the Hutt's fingers. And And so
I'm typing
I
it in
had
right
to pull
now.
up a picture, and I'm like zooming in, and I'm like, I don't think he has nails. I don't even know how I came to the answer, but I believe he does not have nails.
No,
To which my
no.
husband then replied, well, that makes sense. He's a slug.
So true. Now here we are, live on the air. I'm diving in. I'm looking at. Yeah, no, I don't think a lot of fingernails. Just
Right?
little stubby sausage fingers. Yeah. Oh my.
Right. And when you really start thinking about the different alien species and their hands and their
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
whole documentary that could be done about that.
Let's pitch that to Lucasfilm. Star Wars fingers, a digit story. I would love that. No, look, it's so funny. You're harkening back to a different era where 10 years ago. Remember, I think it was the second teaser, maybe the full trailer for Force Awakens. I even was upset about it on ForceCenter. I was really off put by seeing Chewie's hands, like his fingers.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't new and people had pulled old Empire Strikes Back promotional photos and stuff like that, and including that one oddly almost inappropriate one of Chewie and Leia in Hoth that goes around every now and then.
Right.
And just going back to the fingers of Star Wars. Our doc is ready to be made. There it is.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Because it's always comparing to our real world. And yes, Wookiee fingers are
Wookiee
weird.
fingers.
Unexpected.
Wookiee fingers, which sounds like a dessert that you might make and show us how to prepare on TikTok.
Oh, that sounds delicious. Yeah.
Fingers.
So that's my life adventure.
It's a
Small.
good life adventure. Small but mighty, like Chewie's fingers. From there, we are going to get into Star Wars news. A headline that we're focusing on this week, and that is that Star Wars Visions returns. At least it will return. Lucasfilm announced this week that a third volume of Star Wars Visions is on the way. This is from StarWars.com. I will apologize in advance for my white American tongue if I don't say the anime studios correctly, okay? Please bear with me. Now, with Star Wars Visions Volume 3, the animated anthology returns to where it all began, with 9 shorts from 9 different anime studios, including returning contributors Kamikaze Douga, Kinema Citrus Company, Production IG, and Trigger. The next installment will also introduce 5 new anime studios to the world of Star Wars. Anima, in co-production with Kamikaze Douga, David Production, Polygon Pictures, Project Studio Q, and WIT, all caps, WIT Studio, to further demonstrate the diversity and creativity of Japanese animation. This announcement, of course, Jen, received very well by the Star Wars Visions fans in the world. And I think, in general, the Star Wars audience, if they've seen them, they like them, and we'll talk about that. But let's dive into this freeform conversation, Jen. Thoughts on Visions returning, what it means to us, and what does the love of the series by others mean to us, even if it's not necessarily our favorite thing, which we'll say up top?
First of all, I want to applaud your pronunciation. You're pronouncing it anime? How are you pronouncing it?
I think that's because I would say anime, and anime I think is accepted,
Yeah.
but like it's the manga versus manga, and it's manga. So I have a tendency to take my A's to the way of manga, and I always tell the story about like working with Maude Garrett over the years, and back in the Jedi Alliance days, 10 years ago, which is crazy to believe. I'm American, so I would say Mad Garrett. She's like, it's Maud. And we'd have this discussion, and I got close. So it's just this tongue is from a certain region, California, baby. Let's hang tight.
I know. I'm studying phonetics right now, and I'm learning all the different ways to transcribe the different sounds and like where it is in the mouth. And so I was fascinated by that. I'm like, oh, okay, that's I'm sure the correct pronunciation. I apologize. I'm probably going to say anime just because I haven't had the practice yet.
And then, someone in comments will politely say, here's the correct way to say it. And I will politely listen. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying I'm trying. Okay.
Yeah. No, I love that. I'm going to try that too. Not today.
Okay.
But I'm going to work on it. So first of all, Star Wars Visions, I haven't watched every single episode. Have you watched every single episode?
Yeah. And we did the deep dives here. I think while you were on sabbatical. But we did.
I've watched most of them, and I really, really enjoyed them. There's a lot to love and there's some great characters that I wanted to see more of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What was that one character? The bunny, Lop. I can't
Lop,
remember.
yeah.
That was
Lop and
and
so was it? Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's it. Right. Season 2 had a lot of great ones as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm really struck by how excited
Ocho.
people are.
Sorry, people are going to get mad at me.
Ocho.
Lop and Ocho. I apologize.
That's it. Yeah, people are really excited for
Yeah.
this next season, and that makes me excited to know that there is a fan base around it.
Yeah, and when I say, hey, it's not necessarily our favorite things, number one, not speaking for Joseph, who's not here right now since he's us filming. I know he loves these. I love them too. And yeah, we didn't get to discuss them in detail with you at that time. I really do love them, and I love the idea behind it, and I want them to continue to do this. And this could expand into there was a novel, I think, based off of The Ninth Jedi or The Duel. Someone can correct me. Do a feature film. Like, you got to the studios, you got wonderful talent. I loved Volume 2 a little bit more because I got a bigger taste of different styles. But the Japanese animation studios from Volume 1 absolutely just slayed it in terms of storytelling. So I absolutely really appreciate this, and I want people to be clear of this, because this Star Wars Visions is some of the favorite Star Wars storytelling for a lot of folks. And some highlights for me. I love the Duel episode from Volume 1, but I was a big fan of Tatooine Rhapsody, Jen. Which
that was
the
great.
band one, right? The rock band that's performing for Jar Jar. For Jar Jar, for Jabba. Jar Jar's on my mind this week. Check out our Jar Jar is Why We Love Star Wars episode this past Friday. But Tatooine Rhapsody was this great story of what you are is what you need to join this fight, and I think it's a valuable one to even revisit now in this world where political tensions, even just in our own country, are at a fever pitch, and people want to know how to fight or what you are. Mala's barking dog voice is what Mala is, and brings that to the fight. It's all there, and I love that episode. And then Volume 2, Sith, which is I think episode 1, The Pit, is stunning. It is pretty overt in what it's about, but I love the Spy Dancer episode. Jen, I don't know if you had a chance to take that in. That is the one that is based off of the French, kind of the French Revolution forces, if you will, during the Germany occupation of Paris in World War II. And it had come at the right time. I'd just been in Paris, and I'd just been taking a deep dive into the history of what went on during World War II. And I love that episode. It's so beautiful. It's so haunting. It's so wonderful. So I love what they do. I just have to admit that sometimes I'll see like the Spy Dancer and go, that is great. I'd love for them to do that in Star Wars, which isn't fair of me, but I just have to own that and be honest. I just kind of look at Visions as this interesting storytelling experiment and an ode to the legacy of Star Wars as it's felt around worldwide, which is tremendously valuable to me. But I just have these it's not even canon goggles. It's just this, I don't know, suburban kid from the 80s going, oh, that's awesome. They should adapt that to a Star Wars story. So that's kind of what I like.
Yeah, and I agree with that, because I think initially with the first season, I thought maybe it would be like introducing a backdoor pilot where if something really hit big, that they would expand that into its own thing. But then again, I have to remember, like, they're taking existing stories or Star Wars characters. This is not all, there's a lot of new elements. There's a lot of it is very, very familiar. So that's my one thing where I'm like, we've had so many cool Visions shorts. Please take these animation studios and take everything we got and create a new story, create a new made for streaming movie, because I think that there's an audience there. They want content for Disney Plus. And I think, to me, it's just like, I want it fully fleshed. I want more. Yeah. They were fully fleshed, but I want like a feature-length film. I want Studio Ghibli and Star Wars, basically. That's what I want.
Yeah, no, and look, I think all of these episodes, both from each volume, did such a good job of telling their own stories inspired by Star Wars, and they're familiar. And again, I want to be clear. I don't want anyone to feel like I don't like these series. Just sometimes I have that, I'm here to study the canon of Star Wars now. Anyways, but like, I'll move past that as a point. But like you use the term backdoor pilot, but just finding characters and stories. And I think a lot of people want to see, and I think we might get some returns here with some of these studios to go back to some stories. And there's been, I've heard rumblings of, maybe Star Wars films even just made for other markets and that kind of stuff. Whether or not that's true or not, we'll see how that plays out. But I think this could be part of it. And because that's the other part of this equation, Jen, we celebrate Star Wars as a whole here on ForceCenter. And we always say, hey, if some things might not pull you in, but it pulls someone else in. And I love studying Star Wars entry points. Love talking to someone who's like, oh, my first Star Wars was Clone Wars Season 2 or Force Awakens, and I wasn't young. I just had never taken a dive into Star Wars, and suddenly, this movie seemed popular. I'll see it, and I love Star Wars. I love entry points. And without a doubt, I'm sure some people are being introduced to Star Wars through Visions. And that is a wonderful perspective, and I'd love to keep building and celebrating and exploring that with them.
Yeah, and selfishly, like my daughter loves anime, excuse me. She loves that. That's like her style, that's her vibe. And when I've showed her Visions, she really liked the Lop and Ocho episode. And she was like, okay, what's going to happen? I want more of those characters. And I'm like, no, we're going to go to a new episode with new characters and a new way of, you know what I mean? I feel like for kids that really kind of like that vibe, it would be cool if there was a series or a movie where it was just that and not have it be different on each one. It's great. It's great that we're getting this buffet. It's wonderful.
It's truly a buffet. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is. But for me, and maybe because I'm old school, and my kids like binge, they binge everything in one sitting. So that might be fun for them to be able to stick with one story.
Yeah. Yeah. But hey, I'm sure, why not, outside of budgets and the streaming wars and the end of the streaming wars and where we at right now with Star Wars live action, and I think you're in the same line of thinking. If you've got this service, Disney Plus, with the prices still soaring, and you got this Star Wars tab, and why not just have the Star Wars Vision tab as you do with these volumes, but continue constantly, not just these big, hey, let's release them in bulk, but maybe a short run series, 3 or 4 episodes on the Ninth Jedi universe that's created in here, more on the Spy Dancers universe, more on the Lop and Ocho, just do that and have that go and live. I know there's a lot of things behind that, a lot of business decisions that I'm not privy to or fully understand because I'm not a thumb in a suit like Bob Chapek was, but I still have a dream that's the Star Wars tab can even be more robust than I think it already is, and what you're talking about could help with that.
I love that. I love that. That would be fantastic. You could even have it in Japanese or I don't know.
Yeah.
I just like it makes it much more international, and I think that there's a real audience for that. But yeah, budget.
Budget, a lot of things, or the numbers, but again, if you get these into other markets, I mean that's big. Our Disney Plus looks different than other countries and regions, right? So build something over there. There we go. So that's kind of a look at it. It comes in 2025. I don't believe a specific release date is there, but hey, with Star Wars Celebration being in Tokyo this year, and this being Volume 3 being what seems to be mostly a return to Japanese animation, what perfect synergy to drop some there and have that celebrated on a grand scale at Star Wars Celebration 2025. So that's that. My final thoughts on this. Also, as much as I love it and I can't wait to watch these, I will occasionally revisit some of the ones I like Tatooine Rhapsody, Spy Dancer. I keep going back to one of my favorite of their volumes so far. I really do love that this is absolutely celebrated, and I love when there's some good positive vibes around Star Wars news, Jen. Those are my final thoughts on Visions, yours, and then we'll take a break.
Yeah, I love this this series, and I like that it exists for people who really want to dive into it. There's some things that have really stuck with me. I can't even remember the name of the episode, but occasionally I will get flashes of the frames from that episode just because it was so beautiful,
artistic,
and artistic. And I was like, that is exciting for me. I hope that they get to do more of that in Star Wars, but longer.
Longer indeed. There you go. All right. We've been having fun, Jen, as you and I have been filling in, holding down the fort while Joseph's gone, and our trio is apart. We've been calling this Cat and Jet and the Star Wars morning, so to speak, and some of our Discorders have been coming on that. So we're gonna take a break right now. When we return, Jed, we're going to the Wayback Machine. 10 years. Force Awakens teaser trailer conversation coming up next after the break. All right, we're back. Sorry for that. Just slipped.
That was so good.
And an old job.
Now I'm cutting out again.
Are you ready to dive in?
I am ready to dive in. I loved that. That was great.
All right, Jed. No other news headlines I want to discuss. There's some little things out there. But I wanted to go back. This week in Star Wars history. November 28th, 2014. Again, shout out to the Bombad cast. Scotty and Jerry did a wonderful retrospective. They had the timeline down. They had a history of events leading up to this and even beyond this. So check out that. I popped in there as well. But November 28th, 2014, Jed, The Force Awakens teaser trailer, 10 years of the light side and the dark side and the light. And the Force is calling to you. Let it in. Though I think that was from the second teaser trailer. Never mind. Where were you, Jen, 10 years ago?
10 years ago, I was up north at some hotel, and it's over Thanksgiving. And I was like, I think only like a month, or I was very early pregnant. And we hadn't told anyone because it was a little too early. And I had kind of, I'm going to say turned my back on Star Wars because that's not true. But I was just kind of like overwhelmed with this new era I was entering personally. And I was like, I don't have time to think about Star Wars. I know that there's a new movie. And I kept seeing on Twitter back in the day, and it was like people were going nuts over this teaser that was released. And I'm like, I don't care. I don't want. And begrudgingly, before I was going to go have breakfast or whatever with my in-laws, I sat there on the hotel bed, and I watched it. And I not cried, but like I welled up. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm back in. This is amazing. This is what I've been hoping for since I was a child. Like, I could not believe it. We can go through the specifics of the trailer itself, but that I was like, oh, I was so wrong to forsake you, my Star Wars.
I want to put a pin in just your state of mind, but when you say what you had been looking for since you were a child, what does that mean in more detail? What about that trailer scratched that itch or dream?
For me, and it still holds true, as much as I now can appreciate the prequels, for me personally, what I always gravitated towards was like the fun, the adventure, the swashbuckling energy, right? And also the mysticism. And that this teaser trailer hits all those notes. Fun, and then when you see Kylo Ren igniting his blade, it's like, oh my God, I could get chills thinking about it now. That to me was what I had hoped for way back when I knew that there was going to be no more Star Wars back in 1980 or something.
Right. Yeah, it was done. Yeah, I feel that. Also, I'm laughing on a personal note because I respect you sharing where you actually were at that time. Your life was about to go through a big, I don't even say change, but an addition with first child on the way, all that kind of stuff. But around the same time, as I've talked about before here, I started, Maud and I started Jedi Alliance for the Popcorn Talk for the Schmoes Network. And I was looking for guests, and I kept seeing your YouTube channel pop up, and I kept seeing, I kept asking Phil Svitek and Maud, does anyone know this Jennifer Landa person? Does anyone know her? She's at a Star Wars wedding. Look at this interview with this young girl that refused to bow down, or did take the Sith oath, or fought the Sith.
Oh yeah.
I'm like,
little Sith girl.
Yeah, I was like, we gotta. Does anyone know? She loves Star Wars. I got it, and I finally found your business email. And around the same time, you're going, I don't know if I love Star Wars anymore. I don't know what's going on.
No, I did love Star Wars. I literally, like the fact that I was going to have a baby. I was not. It was really, I don't want to say unexpected, but it was a lot.
Yeah.
And I just was like, my whole future that I had planned was now like, I have to totally adapt. And so even though, I had been active on my YouTube and I had this great, press with the wedding, I had gotten married, was building a life. And
Yeah.
I was just like, Star Wars, I don't have time for you. I don't.
No,
Like
thank you, Star
I'm
Wars.
gonna have an actual baby, Star Wars, because Star Wars kind of felt like my baby at times. And so
That's so
I
funny.
was really overwhelmed. Yeah.
Hey, it all worked out. Flash forward, I've several months later when you walked into the Jedi Alliance studios, and I went, well, she's probably not going to want to replace Maud as a co-host because she's got a baby on the way shortly. Anyways, I really appreciate you sharing where you were at. I by this point had been hands full with producing schmoes and not yet working at Screen Junkies or Collider, but in the digital media world, and just overjoyed that something that I loved growing up and sometimes was, maligned or just straight up bullied for loving growing up, Star Wars was back in play. The sale had been 2 years in. We had the Star Wars Rebels was out by a couple months. I started to come around on the show, meaning I just wasn't sure what to do with it when it was first launched. But the first season of Star Wars Rebels just got better and better and better, and I'm into it, and we're having a lot of fun. And the anticipation was so high. And I was at work. This is how long ago it was. I was at my day job as Director of Public Safety, Northridge Fashion Center, Northridge, California. Black Friday. This was Black Friday. These were days where, my last Black Friday, I worked 31 consecutive hours. I would sleep on my office floor. But I took the thing dropped. And I took a moment to go into my office. I pulled my assistant director, Jason, in, who was a Star Wars fan as well. And we huddled around my computer. The internet was okay. We could work internet. It wasn't like watching the Phantom Menace trailer kind of slowly download. And you talk about, Jen, you said it, like what I've been wanting as a child. I have to choose my words carefully. Come around the prequels. Love the prequels. The prequels they're beautiful. They're gorgeous films. Mm-hmm. They have a sheen to them sometimes.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
That I don't know if stands the test of time because they were just made with the technology they had. And this is why I wouldn't be opposed to Lucas coming back and doing, hey, let me just do not a special edition, but let's clean some stuff up. Let's let the sands on Geonosis move when Mace's feet go down on them. Okay, let's do that.
Right.
But we joke sometimes the Force Awakens was pitched as this. Sometimes I really believe an anti-prequel. Like, don't worry about that. That was 10 years ago. No computers were harmed in the making of this film. It's all practical. That's, of course, a complete lie. And we know Phantom Menace was more practical than probably Force Awakens was. But the in-atmosphere flying of the X-Wings, a lot of that would come in the later trailer, but just the flying across the lake and the water moving and the Poe Dameron shot. Kylo Ren in the Force, what we now eventually learn is Ilum, but then soon learn at Starkiller Base. We can come back to the lightsaber. But the Falcon flying, the sun reflecting off the Falcon, I was like, oh, this is Star Wars in a modern age of movie making, and
yes,
I've been waiting for that. That was one of the big things in the original viewing of the trailer.
Oh my gosh, that the music, because it goes to black, I think, and then the Falcon comes boom into that frame, and you hear the main theme, and it's just like, oh my gosh, like it really did feel like I was a kid again. Ray, BB-8 rolling by in the desert. I mean, the first shot of Finn as a stormtrooper and the look on John Boyega's face, I was like, oh, what is happening? Oh my, everything is just pitch perfect. JJ knocked it out of the park. I love The Force Awakens so much. I really do. And I find it hard when people don't like the sequel trilogy. I'm like, what? Yeah. But I know.
Look, it was I always say this film, Episode 7, had the greatest expectations going against it. It had generations of anticipation, generations of kids like you and I dreaming up what Episode 7 would be. This was also not made in 1993. That Episode 7 would have been a lot different. Not even made in, George himself coming back in 2010. He decided, let's go into the Clone Wars series. George could have done that. And George's, fabled version and Michael Arndt's first drafts and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of that we don't like we love discussing. I love the history of it. I'd love to get even more of the true stories. I know a couple people who have supposedly read George's versions and they won't even tell me. But they kind of say, oh, it's fantastic. I don't know if people would like it. Like, that's the vibe I get from these couple people I know. But all in this moment, this November 28th, 2014, like, joy does not even take in all the emotions I felt that day. And then now to look back on it, Jen, not only just with ForceCenter and just the world, but to see, and there's been ups and there's been downs, and the fandom's exploded, and the fandom's been on fire, and it's yes, we've discussed that here in ForceCenter just the last 10 years, but to look back this far out, Jen, to go back to that moment, it's not just as an innocent time; it was a joyful time that I was surprised even this morning. I was easily plugged back into immediately when I watched this teaser trailer.
I
The
know.
joy
I
swept
watched it. Right? I watched it too before we started recording, and I got happy, and then I got sad realizing it's not in the theaters. I can't. There's no Star Wars holiday for me. This moment has already passed, and
Well, you know what, too? I don't know if this aligns with what you're thinking too, but because you're just talking about you kind of almost want to experience it again for the first time.
yes,
I mean, I was driving to the Disney lot the morning of the press screening I was fortunate enough to attend, Force Awakens, just pounding the steering wheel of my old Camry, which is no longer with us since it got totaled, pounding the steering wheel going, I can't believe I'm seeing Star Wars. Like that's from our generation, if you were plugged into it, like this wasn't going to happen again. And I'm even tapping into like the prequel stuff. I'm talking to that 1988. It's that thing from the past. We didn't know that all this stuff would be coming back, not just Star Wars, but so much of it for good and bad. But one thing for me, too, what you're describing on my viewing this morning, I got overwhelmed. I ended up watching all the trailers, like I said up top. I watched the Rise of Skywalker teaser trailer. I watched the Rise of Skywalker trailer. I got emotional, not just for the movie, but some of the vibes and the feelings. I got emotional for the themes. The trailers do such a good job of highlighting what Star Wars is about. But going back to the Force Awakens teaser, there's also a melancholy under it, not unlike the end of Phantom Menace. I used to love talking about this in 2000 when I would walk around the mall patrolling at night with my friends. That Phantom Menace ends with the Peace Orb, Boss Nass, the celebration. We got the great band playing. We got everyone happy. But there's the shots of like Padme and Obi-Wan and young Anakin and even the droids and then Palpatine. And I remember watching that in 99 going, man, I'm so happy for them. Oh, no, a lot of darkness is on the way. And I had a little bit of that strain on some of the viewings of the Force Awakens teaser today, of just like, it is an innocent time, but it is an era where we only had expectations. We didn't have the realities. Whether you love the realities, hate the realities, started a YouTube grift channel because you wanted to make money off the realities, whatever. There is a looking back now too, Jen, there's a lot that this trailer doesn't know yet is coming, which is part of it too.
it's hopeful. It's pure. And when I watched it, I just got swept up in that innocence and naivete that I had, thinking, well, people may not like it, not realizing that it kind of coincided with other movements online and gaming and whatnot, and that this would be picked up and people would start calling Rey a Mary Sue. And that whole conversation, and then Finn, people not liking Finn because he was a black stormtrooper, and it was like, what? I suddenly got transported to like this bizarro world where I'm like, as Star Wars fans, we are always used to disagreeing. I mean, we've always since the 80s joked about the things that we don't like, and you hash it out on the playground, whatever it is, right? That's just like being a Star Wars fan. But after The Force Awakens, it got notched up to a whole other level where it was no longer just fun disagreements and like battles. It was like a hardcore battle. It was you are a shill, you are woke, you are whatever they wanted to label us, right? And it's just like, whoa, this is Star Wars, dude. Like, this is supposed to be fun. This is entertainment. This is not like life or death. But yeah, that was kind of the beginning of when things changed. And so it's like, as much as I see this trailer, I'm like, oh, I love going, I want to go back to that. At the same time, I'm like, oh, like you're saying, I know what's to come. I know what's to come,
but there's valuable lessons. And it was a more innocent time. I've changed in the last 10 years. Thank God. We all should look back 10 years and go, I've changed. But you're talking about, too, even in the lead up, remember, you got that great cast photo, and it's great, the black and white table read. But that was our first conversation of, hey, there's two women in this shot, and then the Where's Ray campaign around the toys that Jenna Bush and many others kind of started highlighting, and I remember then kind of going, I just, again, different person in my outlook on the world. Not in how I treated people, but just like, don't worry about that. I'd have that kind of approach. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. But then Finn pops up and he's a stormtrooper. And the fact that in 2015, we were having a discussion of, well, there's no black stormtroopers, which was insane to me then and is even more maddening now. But that was part of the start of Strap In, the conversations around this, which are probably always present, by the way, just not easy to see for a guy like me. But that they, your experience is definitely different too, of course, growing up. But like that Strap In, the conversations are going to be tough and times needed to be tough because it was mind blowing. Because I had some friends like, I'm not racist, but there's no black stormtroopers. Like, what? What? And so that's why I want to include that in part of this because it's been part of the journey. And looking back, again, like I said, I this trailer brings up those feelings.
Yeah.
The controversies were beginning. And in a weird way, you look back at just even the Finn one and you're like, oh, that's sweet. That's almost just a tiny problem. It's not. It's a huge problem. But you know what I mean? It's the conversations have gotten bigger and more needed. But you know what I mean?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. It was the beginning. And then to see how it continued to escalate, obviously with Kelly Marie Tran, and then escalated even more with Moses Ingram and Reva. Yeah. And it's like, oh my gosh, can we please get past this? Or everything in the Acolyte, right? So it's just like, all right, I'm hoping that the Skeleton Crew kind of resets things maybe. Yeah. I don't know. But it's not the same as if it was a movie. There's just something about Star Wars in theater where it becomes this main event, dominates the conversation. I don't know. The Skeleton Crew might break through in big ways. I don't know, but there's a lot of competition right now.
There's indeed. And watching this trailer 10 years on got me excited for whatever's coming film-wise. We know Mandalorian and Grogu's next. To close up, or at least to focus on some of just the absolute joy, and we talked about the innocent days of the early controversies around this trailer. The most innocent days revolves around the Kylo Ren lightsaber. Jen, where were you when the crossguard lightsaber controversy erupted?
Controversy. Oh my gosh. I loved it. I remember I literally screamed in the hotel. I was like, what? Right. And I went back and I'm like, this is incredible. It spoke so much to the character that I didn't really know much about. And just in that shot, it still does. And, I loved it, but why? I can't remember. Why were people upset?
Well, yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong. This is a shot that doesn't even make the final cut of the film, if I remember right. Like it's a great shot. And now you look back, you see Adam Driver, owning every inch of Kylo Ren's physicality and the blade coming up. I don't like to say it was manufactured. And this is where I absolutely, we always miss Joseph on our conversations, but Joseph admits that he in 2014 was a little bit of an anti-cross garter. and he was. Wow. I don't know. It harkens back to me of Darth Maul and the double-bladed lightsaber being revealed in one of the trailers or in the film, and that there was we got to do that again. So there was some cynicism around another Star Wars villain with another different lightsaber. What's next? And I understood that. I honestly can't. I'd have to go back and look at the episodes of Jedi Alliance. I don't think I disliked it. I kind of liked the idea. By the way, Game of Thrones was at its zenith on TV, so a good medieval kind of lightsaber for my mind. Like, it's got cross guards. It's a big broadsword. Like, it was great. Later on, we learn a lot about Kylo through the design of the weapon, and it's thematically on point. But at the time, I think going back to that innocent era, Jen, it was, like you said earlier, well, this is what we do. We're the Star Wars nerds on the playground, left to our own devices under the slide because no one wants to talk to us. Or as you grow up, you're in the corner hiding your prequel love. But we debate these things and we rip them apart. And cynicism is sometimes the default. Oh, a new lightsaber, your hand's going to get cut by that blade on the side. And I think, again, innocent times, I'm speaking for myself, I guess, obviously, but that's what we thought we had to do. We had to be snickery, snarky, and cynical about something like a lightsaber in Star Wars.
It's so funny because I came in kind of not cynical, but a little bit cynical about let's see this trailer. And then when I saw that, like I said, I was like, "This is awesome!"
Mm-hmm.
I was like a kid. Whoa, cool new lightsaber!
Yeah.
Like, I mean, really, just because it was like so raw and like
Yeah.
jagged and quote unquote edgy, right? And I just thought it was the coolest thing ever.
It might be one of my favorite blades now, and I was looking off to the side if you're watching the YouTube version because I can't reach it and I don't want I'm plugged into my board here. I have my Kylo Ren lightsaber that came out in 2015.
Oh,
I think I took it from work when I was at Screen Junkies. And it's just one of those things too of it will never be the case, but we see this in every time there's a new Star Wars trailer and there's a new freeze frame on what's that in the background or what's that ship or what's that. It's fun to have an immediate opinion about it. I don't want that to stop, but I always say maybe take a breath and focus on the bigger picture, focus on the themes, or just see how that weapon or ship or planet will play out in the story. It's part of the fun. I don't want anyone to take new weapon comes out, light whip, acolyte.
Oh.
We finally got to see light whip. The think pieces on the light whip. I want every one of them still have that. But thinking back on 10 years of is Kylo's lightsaber actual real or not? Could it hurt you? Is it realistic? Like, hey man, it's Star Wars. It's a cool lightsaber. Calm down.
That's exactly it. I just go by how it makes me feel, and I don't think about like the reality of it. It's movie magic. I'm like, this is awesome.
Star Wars magic. But anyways, 10 years ago, it's hard to believe we're celebrating the good, the bad, and some of the ugly that would come. But I absolutely love revisiting this. I do it from time to time, but I cannot believe that 10 years of Force Awakens trailer. Then we'll get to 10 years of the film. That'll be next year. But 10 years of the anticipation building and this. Look, I think the second teaser trailer is even better. That's the Chewie We're Home. We'll share memories of that when the time comes of 10 years of that trailer. But this teaser trailer, and I don't want to say kicking off a new era because Rebels and Jonathan Jackson Miller's book and some of the comics had actually technically kicked off the new era of Star Wars storytelling. But this was game time. It had begun. And I love this trailer and will forever.
Me too. They knocked it out of the park. They really did.
They did. The dark side and the light. All right, before we get out of here, to let you know a little bit what is coming on Thursday's episode, our Q's episode. We're going to be taking that as sort of a Skeleton Crew preview. I've pulled about 5 or 6 questions from our Patreon supporters through Discord, and we've got some great Skeleton Crew related questions, Jen, and we will be launching Skeleton Crew Report, our deep dive on the series. First, just you and I. Then Joseph will return from the frozen tundra of Minnesota, and we'll be joining the conversation in our second episode, covering the third episode of the Skeleton Crew. But I want to give Skeleton Crew its due. I think the announcement of Andor Season 2 did, I think, take a little bit of the hype away from the show. I'm looking around. They've got the trailers. They got great interviews. Check out those interviews on StarWars.com. Great roundtable interviews. But I'm very excited for the series and can't wait to preview it. You, Jen?
Me too. And I've been seeing billboards all across LA. My kids are pointing, there's the Star Wars. And it is kind of funny. I think it says like Star Wars at the top, and then it's like a Star Wars adventure. Star Wars is twice on the billboard, which kind of cracks me up. But yeah, that is interesting about Andor. We'll see. Hopefully the momentum will continue to pick back up, and they'll be pushing those ads to my kids who are on their iPad.
The thing with Andor, when I was in 7th grade, I was playing softball at a church picnic, Jen, and I was a catcher. I wanted to be a catcher in the major leagues. So I was 12 years old. There was a play at the plate, and one of the adults, who I think in the end was like 20, was on my team and went in front of me and took the throw because he didn't have confidence that I would make the play at home. And then later in the game, I did make a play at home, and he came to me and said, I want to apologize to you. I assumed you wouldn't be able to do it because you were too young, and I took the moment away from you. That stuck with me all my life. That's what I think the announcement of Andor Season 2 kind of did to Skeleton Crew for a moment. It jumped in front of it.
Yeah.
No fault of its own. And I don't need Andor 2 to apologize to Skeleton Crew, but I want to stand up for Skeleton Crew. And that's why we'll have the preview on Thursday. It's not just a kids show, but it clearly might get some people just less interested on the surface from the trailers, which is why they're in football this weekend, and it's on Star Wars YouTube channel, a 29-second TV spot for Skeleton Crew, which focused on Jude Law's character, Jod Nanawood. And I think that was very smart. I think it was very smart to get that out to the wider but also older audience, that it's not just for precocious kids running around, which, I mean, come on, I'm there for that. Everyone's Team Neil at this point. But focusing on who Jude Law might be in the story was great. So anyways, our preview's coming Thursday. That's the point of all that.
Yes. Very smart. I got to watch that teaser.
There you go. All right, that's it for this week. Thanks for hanging with us as we discuss Star Wars news and look back. What are your thoughts? Reach out. Find us on social media. Leave a comment down below of your memories of seeing the Force Awakens teaser trailer 10 years ago this week. We are on social media at ForceCenter Pod, Blue Sky, ForceCenterPod.bsky.social is where you can find us, and we're having a lot of fun over there. We have a Facebook page, ForceCenter Podcast, Instagram, YouTube. Subscribe here so you don't miss those pop-up live streams and more. As a podcast, we're available on a lot of spots. Just search, you'll find us. Merch available at tpublic.com/user/ForceCenter, or check out our Fourth Wall shop, link in the YouTube description. You can support us directly at patreon.com/ForceCenter. Follow me at Napzok or KenNapzok.com for all the things I do. And hey, it's a holiday season. 5 years of my book, Why We Love Star Wars. Oh my gosh. Can't believe 5 years ago I released that thing. But it is still a celebration of Star Wars to that point. So if you want to pick up a personalized copy for the holidays for you or someone else, go to the shop tab on my website, KenNapzok.com. Jen, where can they find and follow you?
You can find me on Blue Sky. I'm there occasionally at Jennifer Landa, Instagram at Jennifer Landa, YouTube, same handle, and TikTok at Jennifer Landa 1138.
That's it for this week. We'll see you on our Skeleton Crew Preview Cues episode this Thursday. Bye for now. This was ForceCenter.